There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, hello there, you're watching the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages. Time to see what's making the headlines then with broadcaster and commentator Ali Miraj and journalist and broadcaster Jenny Kleeman with us from now until just before midnight. Welcome to both of you. So, as ever, to the front pages, starting with the Financial Times, which says Rachel Reeves has identified a £40 billion funding gap ahead of her autumn budget and is gearing up for big tax rises. Meanwhile, The Telegraph leads on reports that the Chancellor is planning on increasing national insurance contributions for employers, which they claim is a U-turn for her. That is also on the front page of The Eye. It will hit workers, Reeves is told. Metro focuses on fresh proposals to give weight loss jabs to unemployed people living with obesity to help them get back into work. Mail reports on the ongoing Taylor Swift controversy. As it emerged, the Prime Minister met the pop star at her concert after she was given taxpayer-funded security while performing. Daily Express features a plea from Dame Esther Rantzen, who has asked the public to urge their MP to back the assisted dying bill when it reaches Parliament tomorrow. That is also in The Times, which says a judge and 2 doctors will have to agree that terminally ill patients can be helped to end their lives if that law is passed. The Guardian leads on a vow from the government to overhaul draconian penalties that left many unpaid carers thousands of pounds in debt. The new Kaiser chief reads The Mirror after Thomas Tuchel agrees to become the next manager of the Three Lions. A reminder, by scanning the QR code you'll see on screen during the programme, you can check out the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers while you listen to our guests, so let's head straight to them. If 22 billion wasn't depressing enough, let's hit 40 billion, shall we? And go straight to the FT. Ali.
Well, the FT is covering the story. A number of them are now. It was meant to be 22 billion, as you say. It's now 40 billion. This is to not only keep spending standing still, but actually to make it increase in real terms so that the departmental budgets are not cut in real terms, and to give some more cash to the NHS, which is completely cash-strapped. We know that we've got a 7 million waiting list still. Hasn't come down post-COVID. In fact, quite the opposite. And the question now on everyone's mind is what is exactly going to happen, where the tax is going to come from. The big row is over employers' NI and whether that is effectively a manifesto pledge broken. And even the IFS, Paul Johnson, who's some sort of demigod now, says that effectively this is a breach of trust. I mean, this is a broken promise. They made it very clear they would not increase NI, income tax or VAT, but they never mentioned employers' NI.
Yeah, they boxed themselves into a beautiful little corner, and now we're in it, all of us, aren't we? But on the 40 billion, yes. I mean, there's only a few departments that are ring-fenced in terms of the protection of their money. We knew that some probably would have to find savings, as they do, it seems, every year. So is this just, 40 billion if we literally didn't have any austerity, or is there new holes that they have allegedly found?
I mean...
or is it not clear yet?
It's not clear yet. According to this, if more economic growth will reduce this number if it happens before October the 30th. I think, frankly, the number is kind of ridiculous now. It's kind of plucked out of the sky. We've had so much speculation over what's going to happen on October the 30th. So many hints and denials. It's actually getting in the way of growth. I mean, would you be investing whilst there is all of this uncertainty?
I mean, we know that businesses are, sitting on their hands now.
Yes, and
because Business Confidence Surveys
wait for the budget. When we know how boxed in the government have made themselves. It reminds me of the, Sue Gray report into Partygate. Oh, no, we will only answer when Sue Gray, it's the same thing. Oh, all will be revealed in the budget. But we know that there aren't rabbits to be pulled out of hats. And, this whole thing about national insurance and the mantra that we will not increase taxes on working people that we heard in the run-up to the election. Now it seems to be coming down to a question of semantics. Yes. a question of...
Yeah, let's look at the eye while you talk about
Yes.
this then, which is the point Ali made as well, is when does it hit workers,
Yes.
etc. Anyway.
And so it seems that Keir Starmer has quite a kind of lawyerly interpretation of the language here, that this is not, if this is a tax on employers, not employees, but it is a tax on employment if you were to increase employment contributions to national insurance. You can raise a lot of money that way, and if you've got £40 billion black hole, you want to fill it however you can. But ultimately, it is employed people who will feel the burden of this, because either their salaries won't go up or fewer people will be employed. And this is at a time when the government says they want to be getting more people into work. You know, the money, the books have to be balanced somehow. And I worry about this, that if this is all about semantics and if Keir Starmer is being clever with words... is
why
that
not
going
just
to
be honest about
Well,
it? Why
I
not
think
say,
it's going to
it's
damage
worse than we
public
thought, we're going to have to...
And we just cannot take more of losing faith in politicians. If you feel like, oh, yeah, he's going by the letter of what he said, but not the spirit of it.
So why not just, you know, front it up and actually be honest and say, look, these are whopping figures now. We need to fill them somehow. Apologies, we got it wrong. Or we made promises we couldn't keep.
Well, you could say that, but they could also say that they should have been a bit more open during the general election, because the IFS, to quote them again, was saying that there was this 20+ billion black hole all along. I mean, it wasn't exactly a great revelation. And what Jeremy Hunt is saying is that according to his numbers, it was about 8.5 billion. There was a headroom left in the budget. So these are down to choices. Choices were made, including settling some of the disputes with the unions, including the ASLEF train drivers, the junior doctors. I'm not saying that those were wrong things to do, but you make choices. They didn't have to be made, but they were made. Now, there are two issues here. One is, to Jenny's point, one of trust. What does this mean in terms of trust? The second issue is this: what does it mean for workers, actual workers? This is going to effectively come out in wages in the long term, and also potentially reduce the opportunities for work. And the key question for this government, which it has not answered yet, is how is it going to get growth in this economy? They had this big investment summit yesterday. The whole entire city of London, where I am, was completely cordoned off. Everyone was there. 61 billion announced. Apparently some industrial strategy, French dirigisme style, kind of emerging from the ashes here. But people are not buying this yet. The only thing they've got going for it is that this government has not had a change of leader in 49 days. That's good. That's a start. So, I mean, you talk to investors, as I do every day, and they say political stability is important, but people need to know where the growth is going to come from.
Yeah, how many Tory PMs did we have, or indeed chancellors?
Lost count.
Everybody lost count. And just on the national insurance employers part of it, Daily Telegraph are accusing Rachel Reeves specifically of being hypocritical about this, and this is effectively a U-turn on her own beliefs.
Yes, they have found something she said 2 years ago when she was Shadow Chancellor and commenting on Rishi Sunak's plan to increase employers' national insurance contributions, that apparently Rachel Reeves said this is the worst possible tax rise at the worst possible time, and said that employers will be hit twice. It shows just how poorly thought out their tax hike is. This is not a good phrase to have held against you. I mean, I think this lack of ambition shows a lack of confidence on the part of the government. The fact that they're not prepared to say, if it was Tony Blair, this is a very Tony Blair phrase, I'm going to level with you. You know, they would have won anyway. They were voted in because people wanted not the Conservatives. They could have said so much more. And it will be so disappointing if, come the 30th of October, all we've got is a bit of clever manoeuvring when it comes to language, and no big ideas and no kind of honesty with the public.
It would have been so much easier if they'd simply undone the Conservatives' national insurance, you know, what's the opposite of a tax cut? Tax giveaway, which he gave us twice. Just undo that and be honest about what you're going to do.
You know, the interesting thing is, everyone criticised Boris Johnson, and I criticise him a lot too, and give him a good kicking when he deserves it. But one of the things he did bring in, or tried to bring in, was this increase of 1.25% in national insurance. Why? To try and address the social care problem, which leads to bed blocking in hospitals, and there's a crisis going on in that. We all know it, right? And we all know that social care workers don't get paid enough, and there's all these knock-on issues. Now, when that came in, I remember distinctly Rachel Reeves and her ilk saying this was an absolutely appalling thing, that in a cost of living crisis you're increasing national insurance. They were trying to address the problem. And now we're in the very situation that a Labour government is coming in and potentially going to increase employers' NI.
And separate to all of that, of course, front page of The Guardian, a photograph that was, well applauded at the time, and everyone said how lovely it was and how positive it was. Now it's sort of, it starts, you pick apart at it, and the revelations continue about Taylor Swift and the taxpayer-funded movement through the city.
But I would argue that the story, and to summarise, the story is, the latest increment of this story is, they got to meet Taylor Swift, and the question is, did she get a police escort because they got to meet her? That's not the story. The story is that this is still on front pages and that it's on the front page of The Guardian today. It's not on the... Well, it is also on the front page of The Mail. It's on... The Times is talking about it at length as well. But the fact that this is still a story and it's not just the papers that are constitutionally bound to be attacking the Labour Party shows that there is a failure of messaging still within the government. And the fact that this is still running and running.
Do you think it's a bit unfair, though? Honestly, I mean, look, the suits thing, I think people can't compute the suits
unfair.
thing. But the thing is, my
What's
answer...
unfair? What? Sorry, which bit is unfair?
The fact that this is supposed to be some scandal of corruption, that they got to meet Taylor Swift. I mean, it's such a nothing of a story. You think about their predecessors were giving knighthoods out to people.
But it is the unprecedented use of the police to protect her, which has led to questions of why even Prince Harry hasn't got that, and he's fighting court battles to get it, and yet then half the cabinet seems to have...
But Prince Harry can't sing. I mean, there's a bit of a difference there. The point... Sorry, Prince Harry. The interesting thing is, about this is, I mean, look, if you did a cost-benefit analysis of providing blue light support to Taylor Swift because Taylor Swift's mother, who's her manager, was saying, "Look,
call Sue Gray.
We're not going to do this if you don't give us the protection," because she had to cancel some of her Eras tour in Vienna, I think, or somewhere.
Yeah.
Because there were threats, right? And it was a difficult time, and there was also that Southport issue where people had been killed on the back of a Taylor Swift-themed dance event, right? So there were concerns around it. They may have done a cost-benefit analysis, thinking, OK, the cost of doing this will be outweighed by the fact that she caused inflation in the economy.
It's the precedent point of it, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
but the question is also whether or not he had a direct hand in the decision to give her a police escort, which, by all accounts, he didn't. I just can't believe this is still a story, and I can't believe it's on the front of The Guardian.
But it's probably a story because they made out themselves to be holier than thou, and that's the issue, right?
Yes.
Rather than the actual substance of the tickets themselves.
It's quite a nice picture, though.
Moving on, I think, don't you? Lots more still to come in our look at the newspapers, including The Guardian again, a warning to Israel from the Biden administration if it does not let in more humanitarian aid into Gaza. Take a look at that in just a moment.
Hello and welcome to Politics at Jack and Sam's Daily, the podcast equivalent of a Pro Plus caffeine tablet that tells you everything about what you need to know the day ahead in British politics in under 20 minutes.
My name is Jack Blanchard of Politico. With me in the Zoom call is Sam Coates of Sky News.
The front runner among the members, Kenny Badenoch, did much worse than I was expecting. Now, traditionally and historically, MPs want to rush to back early the front-runner candidate because it helps your chances of getting a job further down the track. It's good to be seen to be there early with the person who's going to win. And the fact that even though she was topping a lot of the surveys, that she didn't get more than 6 votes behind Robert Jenrick is very ominous for her campaign.
This issue had sort of bubbled away a bit last week. It was always going to come back this week because of the vote, but it was rather blown up again on Thursday due to a very prominent Labour Party commentator wading in on it and saying that Rachel Reeves might need an escape route. Now, that person was Ed Balls, who used possibly one of the most prominent Labour figures to speak about Treasury matters.
Oh my God.
What happened?
Sorry, I've got my cat is fighting another cat through the window. I'm going to have to stop it.
There's a cat fight.
I'm Martin Brunt, and I'm Sky's crime correspondent. My most memorable story was, and still is, the disappearance of Madeleine McCann.
Please, please do not hurt her. Please give our little girl back.
We aim to be the best and most trusted place for news. For detectives, the first 48 hours after a murder are crucial in the search for clues. The public expects them to find Jill Dando's killer soon. I remember the grimmest case, the Soham murders of schoolgirls Holly and Jessica. I felt I can't undo what's happened, but I can help explain it. Ian Huntley was arrested and charged within a fortnight of the murders. My biggest challenge was to persuade a jailed diamond thief to answer my letters. Martin Brunt, Sky News, at the Old Bailey.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story. A new start to Sunday. I'm ready. Are you? Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
The most significant day of this conflict.
They keep telling us that they want aid.
And this is what's left of it.
Tanks, heavy vehicle. Why only in America? People want their country to work.
Just want a job in a normal life.
Why are these homes empty?
I want you to be honest with people.
That has happened within minutes.
Sky News, the full story first. Free wherever you get your news.
Let's just bring you some breaking news now. And General Sir Mike Jackson has died. He was one of the most high-profile generals since the Second World War, appointed Chief of the General Staff, the professional head of the British Army, in 2003, taking up the post a month before the start of the Iraq War. Many of you might remember him from that. And then in the 1990s, he served as deputy to the NATO Supreme Allied Commander at Europe, General Wesley Clark, another name you might remember, and famously refused Clark's order to block the runway at Pristina Airport during the Kosovo crisis, telling him, "I won't start World War III for you." The Ministry of Defence has just issued a statement, actually, saying it is with great sadness that we've learnt of the death of General Sir Mike Jackson. On the 15th of October, surrounded by his family. General Jacko served with distinction for over 40 years, finishing his career as Chief of the General Staff. He will be greatly missed and long remembered, and then using the Latin, apologies for the pronunciation, utrinque paratus, meaning apparently ready for anything. The statement there from the MOD after confirming the death of General Jacko, as they called him. You're watching the press preview, joined again by Jenny Kleeman and Ali Mirage. Welcome back to both of you. I've clean lost my space, in fact, or where we're going after doing that news. But anyway, let's go to The Guardian, shall we? And the continuing issue about what to do about Gaza, given the appalling pictures we've seen recently, with the US threatening Israel that if they need to take more humanitarian aid in.
Yes, it's the strongest warning yet from the US. Lloyd Austin, the US Secretary of State, has written a letter saying that more aid must be let into Gaza within the next 30 days, or there will be unspecified policy implications. That's how The Guardian phrases it. And this is significant. It's Israel's closest ally. Whether or not this will be the thing that pushes the dial remains to be seen. But, you know, it is part of US law that, US laws prohibit military assistance to be given to countries that hinder the delivery of US aid. So, this is a serious letter that's been sent, drawing attention to those laws that will be enforced. But we don't know what that means. We don't know if Netanyahu will listen. You have 1.7 million people in Gaza who are being pushed into a narrow corridor. This letter warns of infection risk, a risk of lethal contagion if anything were to break out there. Things are very serious. Aid hasn't been getting through for a long time. Something has to change.
OK, I know we want to talk more about that, but do you mind if we go on to the England new manager? And the newspaper's picking up on a very German-looking Thomas Tuchel, to be fair. Couldn't make him any more German in their picture choices.
Well, he is going to be the third foreign manager that England have had, after Sven Goran Eriksson and Fabio Capello, of course. Look, he's got experience in England. I mean, he did take Chelsea to the Champions League final. He got a victory there. He's quite a hot-tempered chap. I mean, he does fall out with people quite regularly, and he gets fired quite a lot. He's got pedigree.
It's not a long contract, we're told. So
No, it's 18 months.
might
I mean, but it's an important one because he's got to get us to the World Cup finals. That's very, very important. He's worked with Harry Kane at Bayern Munich until he got fired again. But he's got experience. And look, there aren't that many people around who are available at the moment. At least they didn't have to pay a massive severance package for his contract.
Ali Mirage, Jenny Kleeman, thank you very much indeed. Good to have you on. News conference, we are told, tomorrow lunchtime, so stay tuned for that. Back in just a moment.
I say, bring it on.
With America divided and tensions running high, get ready for an election like no other.
Join our teams as we follow the campaign trail as America decides.
We will win, win, win. Get closer to the action this US election with full reaction and analysis.
Sky News, the full story first.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.